We're live at the Doing It Production Studios, Global Soul, another Global Soul live online with the incredible Renae and Natalie May. So how did you find it, this first time back live for some time?
Yeah, it was refreshing and just an awesome environment because obviously the band were great and it's really nice to be back and doing what you love.
When was the last time you played live?
March, like a week before lockdown.
And Renae, for you?
Yeah, it was around that same time. Literally, it was just going into lockdown. We had our last gig with the band.
And how did it feel for you to play live?
Oh, it was amazing. It was great to bring the songs back to life. You know, hearing them on stream and on radio, it's just not the same as having that live element. So it was great to be able to play with them. Yeah.
And is it right, it's the first time you performed your new EP live?
Yes, actually, I've performed songs here and there, but not the full EP. So yeah, this was the first time, and with the live bands. Yeah, so it was awesome.
So let's take it back to the beginning, starting with you, Renae. Where did it all begin for you musically? When did it start and stuff?
Wow, yeah. When I was about 5 years old, actually, I always knew that there was music always in the house, and my family are very musical as well. So I think it was just a given that I was going to take to something. And my grandfather, he played bass and keys. And I remember him getting my first keyboard and showing me, you know, how to play the keys, and just listening to a lot of music and playing by ear, and listening to the great artists as well, soulful artists. It's just always something was within me that I knew I wanted to do. And always hear stories of, you know, when I was like 3 and 4, singing along, you know, in the car or on my granddad's shoulders. And so, yeah, it's just something that's always been there, really. And
as well as singing and obviously writing, you also play keys as well. You play piano?
Yes, I play piano. Self-taught myself guitar a little bit, but I haven't played guitar in a while. But yeah, keys, I grew up playing and had several different teachers, classical. I was classically trained for about 5-6 years. And then, yeah, just continued it ever since. Taught myself as well, and I play by ear as well. So I was never the perfect student when it came to theory, which my teachers hated, because I would just listen to the classical songs and then play them rather than, you know the finger movements and things like that. But yeah, it's just always gone throughout my life from school until now to adulthood. Yeah.
Speaking of not being a very good student, you're actually a teacher now, aren't you? You're a voice coach, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a fully trained teacher. I went back to university and did my education studies degree, and then, yeah, took up teaching as a full-time job as well.
So, Natalie, where did it begin for you?
Similar. I was like 6. Ever since I can remember, I just knew from a very young age, singing, that was it. Just wanted to be a singer. Went to theatre school on the weekends from a young age, and then secondary school, singing lessons. So I've just always performed and always knew from a child that this is what I want to do.
And when did you get your first sort of break? When did you start actually singing, as you'd say, professionally? Yeah,
when I was 18, my first song was a funky house song produced by Rudimental. Sexy, 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 put your fingers. Yeah, that was my first. That was a big record. Yeah. So that I've literally left sixth form, and then I was just on tour non-stop, in the house scene, gigging, performing. So yeah, that was when.
So how did that come about? How did that actually happen?
Myself and Rudimental, well, some of the members of Rudimental, we were both recording at the same studio, and then peers from Rudimental heard some of my music, and then left the beat to Sexy's the funky house song, Sexy Sexy, for me, and was like, oh, see what you can do with it. And then I listened to it, I was like, this reminds me of soca music, and I'm half Asian, so I think I can do something with this. And then I wrote to it on the train on the way to the studio, and then recorded it and just thought, see what happens, and then stuff happened.
Was this before they were signed?
Yeah.
Oh wow, so right at the very, very, very beginning. Yeah. And you still perform that today, don't you?
I still get bookings all the time for the. I mean, it's amazing because I was 18 when I put it out, but yeah, people still want to hear it.
So Renae, when did you start actually recording and start your professional career, if you like?
Oh God, it just feels so long ago. It's hard to remember, but
Even before lockdown feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, it does.
And that's
it
only
does.
a year ago. So.
I remember my first recording studio experience. I went to do work experience over summer when I was 16. I remember my father getting the yellow pages and saying, "Right, call these studios." I had to do it, and he pushed me in the deep end. And I went to work with Relentless Records. I remember
Shabs and Paul.
Yes, and I remember sitting in on some garage sets with Nisha, that What's It Gonna Be, and Sticky of the time, was a big producer at the time. And then they said, "Oh yeah, you sing, don't you? And why don't you record this track with us?" So we recorded the track. It never got released officially. We did go to Sony with it, but they decided to release something else because it was actually a cover of an old song from the 60s, 70s, I think. So that was my first taste of recording in the studio back in the early 90s. And then, I think it was early 2000, I made my first ever mixtape on a DJX. I don't know if you know what those are, but it's a Yamaha keyboard, and you can record, instruments and some tracks. So I decided to do that. And that was while I was in Ibiza. I was touring. I had this agency that sent us out, and we did cover songs of Supreme. So I was like in a cover band. I decided to put out my own mixtape and self-released it. I think I was probably about 19, I think then. And then, just went on from there, just constantly putting out music for myself and going in different studios. So, from about 19, 20.
And you've been on an interesting journey, living in Estonia for a while and stuff. So.
I've lived in a lot of different places, actually.
So where have you lived?
I've lived in Spain, in Mallorca. So my family sort of immigrated there. And then I followed them after my first degree that I took, music. I didn't finish. I was like, this is, I know how to play music. I know this is what I want to do. So decided to give that up and went and followed them there. Started doing music over there, gigging and performing live. Then that's when I got my break to go and do a tour as the Supremes in Ibiza. So I lived in Ibiza as well for 6 months. Came back to the UK. Then a few years later down the line, decided, okay, I'm going to go to a really cold country, Estonia. I just had the opportunity to perform as well out there. First, just sort of meeting friends as well, because I was living with some housemates who were from those countries, and just decided that it was an opportunity that I couldn't really refuse. It was just a buzz, and people were asking me to do gigs all the time, and I saw it as a new way of life. I wasn't happy in my job. I was working as a nursery nurse in Camden. I did love the job, but I just wasn't, job satisfaction was not there. So that's why I decided to take that opportunity and move there. So I was there for 4 years. Spent some time in Finland, spent some time in Sweden as well, worked with Rasmus Faber, and we did a workshop, released a single and 3 tracks for his album as well. So a few places.
And how did you arrive where you are now, sort of writing and releasing your own stuff independently?
I think, when I returned from Estonia, and I'd had that experience as well in Sweden, because I did get quite a name for myself out there in those countries like Latvia and Finland and places like that. I knew that I wanted to release my own stuff, but I didn't know what my vibe was. I was still like rediscovering myself. So coming back to the UK, I just took a moment to rediscover music again. Because as I said, I did go through a moment of depression and just not knowing, feeling a bit lost in the world, having done music for such a long time and not really got, where I want to get to with it. So, I just was at home, listening to different tracks, and Wasted was the first one that was born. There was other songs as well that I've written, but they didn't really suit me. They were like for other people, I felt, to sing. I would say about 2018 was when it really started to kick into place for me, and I was like, okay, this is really what I want to do, and this is where I want to take my music, and just started to research, how do I market myself, how do I put a song out, where do I go to a distributor and things like that. And it just sort of went on from there, getting contacts with radio DJs and people responding positively to my music. And obviously the support you've given me, it's really, really helped to get me to a stage where I feel like, this is full-time what I can do. So.
And the stuff that you performed tonight is obviously on the soul side, which we love and we've been supporting.
Yeah.
But that's not all you do, is it? You've done house stuff. You've got house remixes, drum and bass stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got quite a wide repertoire.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to work with some really talented musicians and producers. They're always asking me, because I write as well. So I'm always asked to write hooks and different tracks for different people, and I'm quite versatile. I do like a lot of different music, and as I said, I do play and I make my own music. I do like to venture into different things, so I've been quite fortunate. Like a lot of the tracks that you heard tonight, there's remixes of them by some house producers. Carl H, he's done one for Spend as well, a chill out remix, and a few others as well. Sylvester, DJ Sylvester. So I'm actually decided I'm going to bring out a deluxe EP edition to the one I've already done, with all those remixes on there. So people that do like house music, more up-tempo vibe, they can, enjoy that. I met some really lovely rappers as well. One from New Jersey, shout out to Dre Scuffs. He's appearing on the Wasted, the remix. And also there's a rapper in Estonia who's Russian. He's done a Russian version of Make It as well, so those will be coming out.
And you also look after the visual side quite a lot as well, because you've made quite a few videos, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I've done 2 so far, one for Spend and one for Wasted. Those were my first 2 babies, my projects that I put out at the end of last year. It just seems so long ago, doesn't it? And I actually have another song which is a totally different vibe. It's R&B commercial called Catching Feelings, which I'm in the process of making a video for that also. So yeah, I do like to put my fingers in all the pies and mix it up a bit. Yeah.
So Natalie, initially you had a lot of success with Rudimental. That was quite early on. So what happened after that? Tell us about your journey since then.
Well, like a lot of the songs that I performed tonight are about self-discovery, spirituality, self-development. So most of my 20s really was that, going on a journey of self-discovering something, because all I ever knew from a very young age was just singing. It was all just external stuff, which is great and it's a part of life. But early on in my 20s, it was a Lauryn Hill interview actually that I watched that changed my life. It's on YouTube, you can still watch it. She's doing an interview at a university. Yeah, it's that interview. It's the interview. It's like, and so many people I speak to about it, and they're like, I know which one you'll speak. It's just amazing. And she basically, at the time, had just put out Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, had won a bunch of Grammys and was at the top of her game, and was just like, I'm at the top, but there's so much more than what you see. There's so much more behind us. And I was just like, what's she talking about? She's got it all. She's got the Grammys. And then I just listened to her album, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, non-stop. And then it was a spiritual message and a spiritual journey. And I was like, I want to know more about that. And then I've just been on that journey, and it's just transformed me and the music that I'm writing. And yeah, so now the music I do is lo-fi soul, which is a combination of lo-fi hip-hop music and jazz, and it's just beautiful storytelling music. It fits in nicely with topics that I'm interested in, like self-development and love, and you can talk about relationships, but there's also space to talk about deeper things as well.
Because I think we first met when you were working at the Jazz Cafe about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yep.
And we were putting on an event there, and you said, "Oh, I can sing as well. I'm an artist as well." And
by the way, wink. This is what I really hear.
And how we've ended up.
Good one.
And how we've ended up here.
Same.
So how has that sort of transition from doing guests on other people's music, which is what effectively happened with Rudimental, to producing your own music, becoming an independent artist, self-releasing? Talk about that journey.
I'm in a place now, like, this sounds crazy because 2020 has been super chaotic, but it's literally been one of the best years of my life, because I speak a lot about the journey. Even that, for example, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my job at Jazz Cafe, because that's where I met you. And when I was at Jazz Cafe, I was on the door. So people would come in and be like, "There you go, stamp me, darling." And now I'm here. So that was a part of my journey, and that was how many years ago? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I said in the song. Don't knock the challenges, because you'll discover yourself on the journey. So I'm really excited about this stage now of. I think artists have a great opportunity with social media to be like, what am I about? Who am I? It might even be niche, but you don't have the gatekeepers in the industry like you did, but you can have a niche sound that you believe in. And if it connects with an audience, you can share it with people and you can build on that in a way that I think there's opportunities now for independent artists to create their own lane and their own sound and their own message in a way that wasn't available before, because you had to go through gatekeepers in the industry, or, oh, this DJ is not going to play it, or all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a great time for myself and for any creatives to just be like, I'm just going to give this a go.
So given where we are now,
yeah.
and because you were doing a lot of live stuff before COVID and lockdown, weren't you? So
yeah.
that was almost like your full-time thing, is that right?
Yeah.
And what sort of stuff was that you were doing?
Market trader, Portobello Road market trader.
We'll talk about the fashion bit in a minute, but
can't forget the market.
So what kind of stuff were you doing? What before?
I had a lot of residencies, and that's why tonight was so special, because I was had residencies at a lot of venues around London. Shout out my guitarist Ollie Haycock, if you're watching this. Ollie and I were gigging non-stop. So the last song I performed, All For You, that was an example of a lot of the sets that I was doing, very stripped back, chill jazz and soul vibes, and I was gigging all the time and I loved it. My last gig was supporting Robert Glasper. That was my last gig. I supported him for 3 days, which was incredible, and I was like, oh my god, life's amazing. Lockdown, go in your yard, go in your house and stay there. And now I'm here, so that's why today was just really good for the soul.
And where else were you performing in addition to the Robert Glasper thing? What else were you doing?
I done Tidra Moses the month before. I supported her at the Hideaway in February. Like, I had things guaning.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean?
Things were just kicking off, weren't they?
Things were guaning. And then lockdown was like, no, go back in your house, reflect on your life.
Yeah.
So, but it's fine. God's good. It's cool.
So, as a side, you've briefly mentioned it. As a side thing, you're into fashion as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
So where's that all come from, and talk to us about
that? So I've always loved fashion, and just from performing, just doing shows and constantly needing to find new looks and all this stuff. And then I got a part-time job before Jazz Cafe, at this amazing vintage shop in Portobello Road. And I loved it so much, and then I thought I want to set up my own business here selling vintage clothes, because I was at the market all the time. And then I was like, I'm not going to work for someone else, I'm doing my own thing. And then I set up my stall in Portobello Road Market, and I've been there for 5 years now. Wow. Selling vintage clothes. Well, thank you very much, darling.
And during lockdown, you've talked about a lot of time for reflection and stuff. You've used that time to make use of social media, and you've created the lo-fi sessions, which you do.
Lo-fi, so
so talk to us about that.
It's been great. It's been great because it's very strict. Lo-fi, the sound lo-fi means low fidelity. So most music that we hear on the radio is high fidelity. So it's been mixed, it's been mastered, it sounds all perfect. And whereas lo-fi will have maybe nature sounds in it, or just the crispness is quite rustic and raw, but I love it, and it's blowing up all over, but it's more the instrumental lo-fi stuff, so lo-fi without vocals, that's blowing up online, because it gives people a homely, nostalgic vibe, which is great, because now everyone's in their home, and I'm filming my lo-fi videos in my bedroom. And it's just a vibe, and I upload videos every Monday on my Instagram page, Natalie May, follow me there. And people really vibe with it, which is really nice. And
have you found your following's gone up during that time and stuff?
Yeah, it's mad, and people repost my stuff and they share my stuff, and it's So that's what I'm saying, lockdown for me, as much as I miss performing, and today was amazing, it's been great for me creatively to write music and connect with people through online platforms.
And Renae, for you during lockdown and stuff, how's it been for you?
No, yeah, definitely. I took full advantage of all the eyes and ears that were, you know, glued to Instagram and Facebook and things like that, and like Natalie said, just homing in on the craft and really like self-development, learning who you are, finding new ways of writing songs and just reconnecting with yourself, and then being able to instantly, you know, share that online and people then respond to it and reshare it. I mean, it was unfortunate but fortunate. You know, I released my EP during lockdown. I released it on my birthday, which I wasn't able to celebrate. But what I did do, I turned it around and I made a whole EP release party on YouTube Live and had everyone sit down with popcorn and, you know, and just listen to the songs from start to finish. It was just really a nice moment to share that with everyone, even though we weren't physically able to be together in the same room. So, yeah, just took full advantage of all the outlets that were there for everyone to connect and Zoom and, you know, spending time with family. So for me, it was just really reaching out to people and connecting and, you know, DMing and say, hey, how are you? And what's going on in your world? And how are you finding lockdown? And, oh, let me send you a song, you know, maybe this will cheer you up. And connecting with a lot of radio DJs as well. That was my savior, definitely. And obviously meeting you, JM, as well.
So what does the future hold for you? Obviously, in terms of live stuff, that's very uncertain. But in terms of creativity and releasing music, you talked about a deluxe version of your EP being released.
Yeah.
What's the future hold?
Well, at the moment, I'm spending a lot of time writing songs for other artists. I really want to collaborate with as many people as possible and share my talent in that way as well, and produce for a lot of artists. I've started connecting with people online. I'm working with Benny Busy, who was a grime artist, and he's now into neo soul as well. So we've got 2 tracks together I've produced and he's written. I'm also working with Selena May, who had a garage track out as well. I've written something with her, some people overseas. So yeah, I'm going to be just collaborating with as many artists as possible, and then next year just put out as much as I can.
And where can people find you if they want to get in touch and stuff?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Renae Rain Official, spelled RENAERAIN. I'm on Facebook as well, and I do have a YouTube channel, which is you just type in Renae Rain and you'll find me on there. I have an email as well, which is accessible on my social media platforms, so you can just, you know, click email me and then I'll answer your email.
So Natalie, what about you? The future? What's you got planned?
There's 2 projects that I'm working on. So my lo-fi soul EP called Blossom is gonna be released next year, springtime. So it's gonna be, yeah, all this lo-fi soul vibe. So I've got that I'm recording and getting done now, and then next year spring that will be released. And then I also have a platform called The Wholeness Lifestyle on Instagram, at The Wholeness Lifestyle. I've got a podcast, and that's where I speak about spirituality and self-development. So I also share my music there as well, because the lo-fi soul music is like the soundtrack to the lifestyle. So they complement each other. Although I do keep the 2 platforms separate, because some people just want to hear the music, which is at Natalie May. But then if you want more of the self-development, I'm really into minimalism as well, and simple living and simplifying. Less is more. I do that over on at the Wholeness Lifestyle platform. So my socials are Natalie May, at Natalie May on Twitter, Instagram. I'm really active on Instagram. You can listen to my lo-fi soul music there. I've also got my details there as well if you want to contact me. And my spiritual stuff, yeah, is at The Wholeness Lifestyle. And there's a podcast you can listen to, or you can just add me if you, want to be on the journey.
And finally, the question I'd like to ask to both of you is that there seems at the moment a real movement towards soul music, and particularly a lot of younger artists. You mentioned a grime artist who's now doing soul. Yeah. There are so many artists, even mainstream pop artists, are moving towards soul. Lots of people are moving towards soul. There's lots of new artists coming through that are producing some incredible new soul music. What's your feeling about that? Do you feel that too, or?
Oh, sorry. I never really noticed that. It was profound.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
I haven't really I haven't noticed, but I think it's a good thing because soul music is music for the soul.
Yeah, this is
and
it.
I feel like that music is very powerful. Music has energy, and if more people are producing more music for the soul, then it's a
telling
good
you
thing.
something. Yeah.
I mean, at Global Soul, we spend all our DJs and stuff are looking for music all the time. We have our own chart, which Franklin Sinclair puts together, and we're constantly finding loads and loads of new British artists coming through. Maybe 3-4 years ago, the majority of the artists were all American. That's not the case anymore. Now there's probably more UK artists coming through now. So that's obviously a good thing for you guys and anyone else who's in that place. So that's what we're sort of reflecting.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I can see what you mean, because I feel like I was saying to Franklin actually earlier that type of genre of music was kind of shelved, and it was becoming more about commercialism and pop and everything else but soul and R&B, and it's wonderful that it's kind of doing a full circle and coming around now, and people really resonating with the music that we're trying to put out now. So
I mean, particularly with younger audiences and younger artists as well. So so the future is bright, even though in many ways it isn't. In some ways, it's very bright. So thank you both so much for coming, and
thank you for having us. Thank you.
A pleasure, and thank you so much for 2 incredible performances. Renae Rain, Natalie May, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.